Well, hello YouTube. Tell me something. Would you be ready for a blackout? They don't happen very often, but when they do, will you be ready? I only ask because a couple of weeks ago, our power went out rather unexpectedly. And yeah, we were ready, but these things are a good dress rehearsal, trial run, if you will, for your emergency preparations. We were able to get by just fine for 2 hours. The lanterns did not run out of power, and we were able to use our cell phones as hotspots till we continue to have internet access. But I got to worrying as the power outage dragged on. If it went more than 4 hours, we would be reaching the runtime limit of our lanterns, and it became obvious that lighting up a campsite and lighting up a house that is in a blackout are two completely different things. Sure, you can use the same equipment, but... So what I did was got to thinking about what was going on, and I decided I needed something to provide a little bit more power to help keep everything running, to keep things charged and recharged without having to run out to the car and charge things up with a cigarette lighter on the car. And so I went out and bought this. This is not a paid endorsement. Nobody gave me this. Nobody asked me to review this. Nobody is paying for this. I bought this with my own money, spent my tax return early, and I am neither discouraging nor encouraging you to go out and buy or not buy this product. Make your own decisions. You will recognize this as being a portable power station or solar generator. Either one is a correct term. Now you can see it a little better and I don't have to juggle it. There are other people who have reviewed this, so I'm not going to do a full-on technical review of the device. If you really want to see, go over to the Hobo Tech YouTube channel, where Professor Hobo reviews a lot of well, if it's out there, he's reviewed it. I think he's reviewed every solar generator or portable power station out there. But what this thing is, no matter how you look at it or what you want to call it, it's a solar system in a box. Think about it. It's got a place to plug in your solar panels. Judging by the weight, it's got a lot of batteries in it. It's got a solar charge controller to charge the batteries. And then it's got a plethora of outputs, both AC and DC, to allow you to use the power. If you've been looking at any of these or following the market or shopping for one of these, you know that they come in a wide variety of sizes and prices. They cost as little as $200 to well over $2,000. Once you get up into $1,000, you're starting to push the limits of the definition of portability. Many of the very large units will have wheels on them so that you can move them around. With that in mind, let me just run down for you some of the options, some of the things that you'll see, and how you can, and how I made the decision to buy this particular unit. So the market can be very confusing, and what you need to do when you're shopping for these is, what do you want to use it for? What features do you want? And then divide the features into must-have and nice-to-have. Look at, what do you want to run with it? Do you want to run your refrigerator? This one won't do it. You need something much larger and more expensive. This will, however, run a CPAP machine, an oxygen generator, or keep a small refrigerator running, like a dorm refrigerator, to keep your insulin cool. But it will also keep all my lanterns, my cell phones. I could even charge up my laptop using the AC outputs. The other thing is I want to be able to take this camping, and I mean more than just weekend camping. I tend to go on week-long car camping excursions, so I want to be able to bring it with me all charged up, and I want it to last all week, keep my lights and cell phones running. Now, when you go shopping, you're going to have to decide how big of a unit you want based on what you want to do with it. Secondly, you're going to have to determine how much money you want to spend. When you look at these units, you're going to see two advertised numbers, watts and watt hours. Very closely related, but not the same thing. Let me explain. Watts is the amount of power you can pull out of the AC outlet, how big the AC inverter is. In this case, this unit is 300 watts. Watt hours is a rating of the battery size, the battery capacity. Watts is an instantaneous power. I'm drawing 300 watts. I can't do that forever. When does the battery go dead? That's what the watt hour rating is for. The key word on watt hours is hours. It's time. And what 500 watt hours means, if somehow I could pull 500 watts out of this thing, I could do it for an hour. On the other hand, if I'm only pulling 250 watts, half that amount, I can pull it for twice as long, for 2 hours. So watt hours is a rating of how long the battery will last based on how much power you're drawing out of it. You want to be able to select a unit that's going to be able to see you through whatever situation you're in, whether it's camping for a week or a 4-hour blackout. Those are the two biggest things you need to look at when selecting one of these, watts and watt hours. After that, everything else is pretty much gravy because everybody has the same basic features after that. First off, you need a way to charge them. All of them have at least 3 ways to charge them. Way number 1, power outlet. Way number 2, your car. Way number 3, solar panels. And in the case of this unit, it has a single DC input that all the charging sources plug into. AC charging is accomplished by an external power brick. Quite a few other products by other manufacturers do the same thing. EcoFlow is different in this regard in that they place a standard power cord connector. So you can use any AC power cord to charge up your unit, and essentially the charging brick is built in. There's a fourth potential way to charge this thing, which I'll get into in a minute. Blue was very nice in that they also provided the solar panel connectors. And there you see the MC4 connectors and the barrel plug on this, I'd say about a 4 to 5 foot cable. And it's very nice to have that. Most manufacturers do not include this. 3 different ways to charge. There's a fourth method which I'll mention in a minute. I want to point out on this particular unit, it has an MPPT, which stands for Maximum Power Point Tracking Solar Charge Controller, that is designed to get the most amount of power out of your solar panels for the fastest recharge rate on solar panels. Turning the unit around, we find your standard front panel. The AC outlets are the primary feature. 300 watts in this case, 2 outlets as opposed to 1. 12 volt DC output is a typical car charger, what you'd find inside your vehicle. And there's 2 additional barrel plugs that also provide 3 amp each DC 12 volt output. And this is becoming more and more common on these things. Instead of having multiple of these, you just have one of these. This is good for 10 amps or 120 watts. And these are good for 3 amps apiece. But the one thing to look for on this is to make sure that you've got a regulated 12 volt output. This one does. Lithium-ion batteries do not provide a true 12 volt output that a lead-acid car battery will provide. The voltage is actually 1.5 volts less. And so if you're running a small refrigerator like one of those electric camping coolers, it will hit its low voltage cutout and stop running long before the internal battery is exhausted. Regulation is not necessary, however, if you have a lithium iron phosphate battery. Those are almost exact drop-ins for a car battery. The other set of outputs are the USB outputs. You've got standard USB Type A outputs. Also look for quick charge ports, which can deliver fast charge for your cell phones and tablets. This unit also has a power delivery port. It's USB Type C. Many cell phones are now coming out with a Type C port, and there are a number of different devices that now use a USB Type C power delivery port. However, power delivery spec has this port going up to 100 watts. This unit, and very similar to some of the smaller units, only goes up to 45 watts. Does not reach the very top of the power delivery spec at 100 watts. In addition to the USB Type C, they also provide the cable for it as well. It's USB Type C to Type C cable. And as a bonus, a lot of these devices now are providing a wireless charging pad on top. If you have a phone that can do wireless charging, you just drop it right on top of the unit. Other good features, the carrying handles are nice. You know, carrying it around like this can get old after a while. Turn the unit around again and look at the back. The other thing that's nice, it has a light. The display, at a minimum, should show you what your input wattage is, what your output wattage draw is, and in this case it splits the output wattage draw into DC and AC outputs. By comparing the numbers, you can tell whether you are net charging or net discharging the battery. This unit shows a segmented battery meter with 5 segments. The better units will actually show the actual percentage of battery charge from 0 to 100%. So there's the quick rundown on the features of these power units. 2 things I forgot to mention. Number 1, the USB-C power delivery port should be bidirectional. The better units will allow you to charge the unit through the power delivery port. And the second thing you want to look for is what's called pass-through charging. Can you use the outputs while the unit is charging? Most of these units do allow pass-through charging, and if you think about an emergency situation, a total grid down scenario where you're relying on your solar panel to charge this unit, having the unit available to you while the solar panel is hooked up and charging it makes all the difference in the world. It would kind of suck to not be able to use this just because you're trying to charge it up. Alright guys, well, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a big old thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to know this information. Before I go, I should say one other thing, is that although the purchase of this unit was inspired by a blackout, it does fit within the long-term power planning for the aftermath of the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. It's not the full-on be-all, end-all device that's going to see me through a long-term power outage, but it fits in as one of the elements of that plan. I'm going to make a video once I get a little bit more details of my power planning fleshed out. So hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Hit the notification bell to be notified of other videos when they sporadically come out. To be honest, guys, I'm not trying to, just crank out content. What I'm hoping to do is just to share my preparations and what works for me in the hope that it also helps you. So, thanks for watching, and please remember, always be prepared.